Okay, I want you to think about this for a minute. This might sound a little controversial, but I don't even care. It's my thoughts. I'm putting it out there. You need to be okay with making mistakes in your business. Actually, what I want to say is you need to be okay with making a lot of mistakes in your business. When you are just starting out, you need to be okay with it. Why? Because it's not about the mistake that matters. Yeah, you want the customer to have the optimal customer experience. But if you are new in the field that you're creating a business in, you're going to make mistakes. So, one, mentally, you need to be okay with it. So, you give yourself grace. But two, you need to look at it as a learning opportunity, right? Because this is where you're going to find out how to solution. This is where you're going to learn how to be really good at solutioning. And my dear, I am in the business of creating solutions. So it's where the term fail fast comes from. And you hear it a lot in the tech industry, but you need to be able to take that methodology and be okay with it regardless of what type of business you're building. And honey, I've made a lot of mistakes. But even though it doesn't feel good in the beginning, I have learned to be okay with it. And so do you. You need to learn this as well. All right. A few things that I'm learning in this journey of entrepreneurship is how to rest, because you are building this remarkable business. You are building this remarkable business from scratch. And for me, I have pivoted it into a whole new area. So there's transitional skills and transitional methodologies that I will take with me into this new career path, right? And some of it I can't even see. Some people say, oh, you have to have a vision, you have to know where you're going. Some of it I'm kind of going as I go, like I'm building it as I go. And it started with like one piece. So I'm kind of like taking one foot and put it in front of the other, and then taking another step and then put it in front of. I'm learning how to walk here. I am learning how to walk. And sometimes that is exactly what happens when you're building a business. All right. I am learning how to rest. I'm going to give you an example. I have been working long ass hours, not long hours, long ass hours. And during these long ass hours, I'm getting very little sleep, or I am working until my eyes cannot take it anymore. And it's because I am learning how to do things. But I didn't realize I was learning how to take rest. I have said many times before, I don't rest well. And I'm trying not to say that anymore because that is not going to be my reality. But I had been working so hard for the last 2 weeks. And I think once or twice I got okay rest. And so much so that I tried to take a little bit of rest on Mother's Day, and that did not work. And the day after Mother's Day, Mondays are usually my day off. So if you try to get a hold of me on Mondays and you're like, where is this girl? I'm supposed to be taking a day off. And if I do not get that rest between Monday, I will crash on Tuesday or Wednesday. Well, honey, I crashed on Monday. I crashed in the middle of me working and I did not recognize it. It was only when I was reflecting. I was trying to take little cat naps. I believe in cat naps during the day so that I could get back to it and finish up what I was working on for the client. And I just couldn't. I just could not. Now, there's things that I'm putting into place that will help this, and that will help this basically, hiring people, putting systems in place, having a standard operating system so you know how you should do certain things. But when you're just getting started, some of these things you do not know. A standing operating process. You might not even have these things as yet. So you will learn what works. And honey, I am learning what works from what does not work. I come from a space of building the customer experience online. And so sure, I can play the political stuff. I can talk with the customers. I can do people management. I can do account management, all the things. But I am learning equipment I am learning how to do certain things so that when I hire people, I can say, this is how I want it done. I can look at what other people are doing and say, oh, that looks really great. I kind of want to be able to produce these type of things, but the process to get there, that is what I'm learning. So I will make a lot of mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes on the road to get there, but you need to be okay with it. And honey, I'm okay with it. Now, there will be collateral damage in the process, right? Some people will feel it. They will absolutely feel it. And sometimes it's just about being transparent, but sometimes it's not. Ooh, that one's going to be a dangerous one. Sometimes it's not. So I'm reading this book or I'm listening to it on Audible. Let me see. And I'm not saying I got everything from there. I'm only in chapter 1. I'm reading this book, No Explanation Required, by Carol Sangar. And I'm only in the first chapter and it's been so good. I actually have written down 2 quotes that I want to share with you. Let's see if any of them. No, none of them apply to this talk. They will apply to something else that I'll speak about in the future. But I just want you to know you need to be okay with making mistakes, because really you need to be in the business of really you need to be in the business of problem solving, building out solutions. And that is what I'm in the business of. And how it's packaged is probably what you will learn. I am a visionary. I can see the thing. I can do the thing. But when you're trying to do it all, you're probably not going to be doing it all really good. Not as yet, not till you build that team. So you will make a lot of mistakes. And that's exactly where I am in my journey. But I'm okay with it. Once upon a time, I wasn't okay with it. When I was learning how to get here, the spot that I'm in now, I was not okay with it. So that just tells you that when I get to the next level, I'm going to look back and be like, whoa, I'm so glad that I got through that stage so I can get to the next optimal stage. And some people will get there faster. Some people will do things different, but you're going to learn different things at different times in your journey. In the beginning, I was not comfortable asking for help. And that will be something that you'll need to do. When I just started out, even before I just started out, I had made mistakes when it pertained to audio. I had made mistakes when it pertained to lighting. I made mistakes when it came to filming. But I didn't know who to ask for help. I didn't think to look on YouTube for the answer. So I just kind of felt ashamed of what I've done, and not ashamed in a bad way, just more like embarrassed to share it because I knew it wasn't where I wanted it to be. Or I thought I had planned for something and a mistake happened and I didn't know how to recover from it. So it was more like the embarrassment of trying to recover. So then do I share what I did? And I didn't want to. I'm finally at the stage where I am so okay with sharing my mistakes. Excuse me, sorry. The other day I had somebody in the studio and she was bringing, somebody else in the studio for me to meet. And I was explaining some of the mistakes that I had that I want to share. And she's like, ooh, you went through a lot of mistakes. You've done a lot of boo-boos, like whatever she said. And yeah, absolutely. But none of us are perfect. So why do we want to portray only perfection? I don't even try to be perfect. I try to do my best. And if my best makes mistakes, then I just need to learn how to fix them, how to solution. And not everybody's going to like the solution. Some things I might not know the solution. Some things I might not be able to afford the solution. I got to be okay with it and I got to keep it pushing. But I just remember her response to, oh my, like whatever she said, I'm paraphrasing here. You've made a lot of mistakes. You've done. And I was thinking, yeah, and I'm okay with it. When you are in a corporate space, they will tell you the same thing. They will tell you to fail fast. And it's about the solutioning. It's about your mindset. It's about what do you do when you need to fix this thing? How do you communicate the fix? How do you communicate the mistake? what is the solution that you propose after you made that mistake? And I think some of it in this particular journey is because it's so new to me, I can't even project the appropriate timelines because I'm learning what to expect. So setting that expectation in the corporate space, it'd be like, here, let me set this expectation, even if you just need to investigate the problem. So maybe the solution when you find a mistake is I need some time to investigate how to solve this because I don't know what to do. And I should know this because I was in the tech space where we're building different things. And sometimes you have a bug that comes up and we need to identify that root cause to identify how we're going to solve it or to come up with multiple solutions to solve the problem, right? But I'm in a new space and sometimes I forget that I need to apply these things that I've been doing in corporate in my business. But you know what always reminds me? The people. The people always remind me. And the reason it is because I get to a point of reflection. And when I get to that point of reflection, I think sometimes the client in the entrepreneur space has less grace than if they were dealing with a big corporation for the small business. And sure, they can be upset, they can whatever. The customer does not have to care, right? But when you are two different small businesses, so let's say the customer, the client is also a small business, but they're not in it full time. They're not in their business full time. They work another corporate job. What they imply in corporate and the expectation that they have in corporate might be slightly different than the expectation they have for the small business. And I want to make sure that I'm not speaking too much in circles here. Sometimes it's unreasonable, right? So let me give some examples. When you hire someone in a corporation, you've got a new employee, you hire them. You give them time to understand the position, the role. They are going to make mistakes in that process, but you have to give them a bit of room to think about their mistakes. And it reminds me of this company, and I needed to make some decisions. And I kept going to my director saying, well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about this? And he had this layback approach, like, well, what do you think? You make the decision, because here I was a manager in this role and he was giving me the room to have the autonomy to make the decision, but also make the mistake and come up with a solution, because that's the risks. At some point he had to delegate and let it go, and he gave me that opportunity. And sure enough, I can't think of a specific example, but I would make mistakes. And one of his counterparts would get extremely upset and make me cry. But just because he'd come down so hard on me. But my director was great. And he stood up for me in the process of my learning, because he gave me space to make mistakes. He gave me space to come up with solutions. Okay, let's flip this into a small business scenario. In the small business scenario, when you're working with a new business and they make mistakes, you want the solution right away. I want my stuff. And honestly, I've probably been that person before. But because I am actually seeing the direct correlation between, wait, why is it that we allow the employee to make mistakes and grow and come up with solutions, but we don't allow the small business to? It doesn't make any sense. Now, coming from Perspective Studio Productions, I have a different perspective, because now I can see that in one space we would allow it, but in another space we would not. Now, it's not up to the customer to allow it. So let's change the scenario slightly. Well, wait, let me make sure I gave you the example, the one-to-one example. Yes, let me give it to you. So let's say I'm in the studio now and I hire someone, and I am telling them what I want them to do with maybe a particular client's project. I want them to edit something. I want it to be edited this way, and I want it done by this time. But that person is new. Maybe they just came out of college or university. Maybe now they have to be able to apply the things that they've just learned in their school environment in this new workspace. They need time. They need time to be able to put their skills to work, but also find other ways to solution. So if they're editing and maybe they're color grading or they're dealing with the audio, and they've learned some tactics, they've learned ways to make changes, or you're hiring someone that did not go to university or college, and they are self-taught. So now they need room to learn how to find the solution off of YouTube, right? Me as the employer, I need to give them space to make that mistake and give them space to find the solution. Because one, I might not have that skill set, but the way they're going to find it is probably the way I would find it as well. I'm going to go to YouTube University and look for the answers. And while I'm going through that, I might find some proposed solutions that may or may not work. Okay, let me give you a couple of other examples. When I just started working here at the studio, I had made some mistakes, and I have a friend that has been in this industry for a long time, and I believe they're self-taught as well, but they've been through this. They don't even remember the mistakes that they've made, but when I tell them the mistakes, they're like, oh yeah, no big deal. I was asking this particular person for help for certain things, but it got to the point where it's like, I need help with everything. I need help with everything. But I felt bad constantly asking them to help me solution things. So it got to the point where I wouldn't even ask for help because I didn't want to seem annoying to them. Oh, you know what would happen in that case, in that scenario? I would freeze. Nothing would happen. I wasn't even looking to YouTube at that time. I was doing nothing. I was sitting in the stress of not knowing what to do. And I'm going to give you a different example of something that I just came about a while ago. I went to this conference. Let's see if I can find it quickly. I think it's this one. Yes. I went to this conference a couple of weeks ago, or this event a couple of weeks ago, and there was a psychotherapist speaking. And the psychotherapist was relating a couple of these terms to investments because I was at an investment event. But when she brought it up, I took a screenshot. When she brought it up on the screen, I thought about my business. And so here's what she said. She said, and I'm going to just put it in perspective to my life. She brought up fight or flight. So those are terms we've heard before. And then freeze or fawn. Never heard of fawn before in this context. So she said fight, or I thought of fight. When I was younger, I probably fought a lot when it came to my mouth. Like I'd get upset about something and I would cuss. And I loved cussing, and I still love cussing. But I would cuss, and so I was in fight mode, right? As I got older, I went into flight mode, and flight would just be fuck it. There you go, I cussed. I'm gonna cut somebody off because I cannot be bothered. This is now the personal life, right? Flight would be like I've reached my limit. I can tolerate a lot, but I've reached my limit, and this relationship is over. I'm outie. I'm out. That would be the end of Solomon Agundu. Freeze, I identified, and that's when you're paralyzed to pertain to my business. When I didn't know what to do or I made such a detrimental mistake, I would freeze. I did not know how to solution. It's not like I don't know how to solution. I've been working in corporate coming up with solutions for the past 20 years. I do know, but because the stakes are higher when it's your own personal investment, you might freeze in your business. And that's exactly what I was doing. And I'm sure I still freeze because I'm working through freezing. But her putting it up on the screen made so much sense to me. And then fawn, oh child. Fawn she wrote as give it away. Let me tell you, how many of us are not recognizing the value of the service we're providing or the product that we're providing, and we are just discounting the shit out of it, right? And I constantly do that so that someone else can afford it, so that they want the business. So I was fawning it, honey, fawning it away, just giving it away. But it never left me feeling good about myself or what I was offering. It's not what I was offering. It never made me feel good about the exchange, right? Because I've made so many mistakes, and I've come up with so many solutions that now I know, like, oh, we offer wonderful mics. Before, I didn't even care about the audio as long as you can hear it. We offer wonderful visuals. Look at this camera quality. It is amazing. It's mint, baby, mint. I was just happy to record before because that's the stage that I was in. And lighting. Oh, child, it took me a minute to figure out this amazing lighting. And I did ask for help on this one. But before, I was trying to figure out certain things, and I wasn't looking on YouTube for all the answers, right? So lost my train of thought. But I just, want you to see that you got to be okay with these things because it is a part of the process. Let me go back if I can remember where I left off. And excuse me, I keep looking that way because the television's over there. I want to see how I look. It just takes time to get to this stage, and sometimes we will be okay with it for a bigger business, but we won't be okay with it for the little guys, the moms and pops. But they don't have the bandwidth until they do, until they recognize that they can. Here's another thing I want you to know. Sometimes you don't think you're ready for growth, but your mistakes are screaming at you that you are ready. So you just need to take action. Bandwidth is one, right? So if you have the clients coming in and you're the only person working in your business and you need to fulfill all these orders, and maybe you're like asking your friends and family to be a part of it, just to help you out, and volunteers, well, that is going to run its course quite quickly. So you need to figure out, how the heck do I pay someone so that they can come and value the work they're doing, but also help me get these things done and help me give myself space to grow, right? Help me make more mistakes so I can grow. And the mistake is not recognizing that. That is one mistake, not recognizing that you're ready for growth and not preparing in advance. Now, you might not think that you're ready. You might not know how it's going to happen, but sometimes you have to just have a little bit of faith in yourself and then figure out other creative ways. About a year ago, I was in a coaching program, and they did talk about, aligning your bank accounts a certain way or hiring before you're ready. If you've ever done the math of how much it takes to that you need to make in order to set up payroll, you're not there yet, you're like, I can't even afford it to hire someone, then you might need to either get a VA, which is a virtual assistant, or have some contractors come in and do some of the work while you do which opens you up to focus on other things such as strategy and things like that, right? So you might not be able to give away a whole position or hire for a whole position, but one of the strategies to give yourself more bandwidth, to give yourself more space for growth, might just be that you offset some of the work, not all of the work, and then you have a little bit more space to breathe. But the mistake is not coming up with a creative solution. And just being open to making changes happen, right? Being open to asking for help. I think that's where I was going with this initially, being open to asking for help. One thing I was going to say about that asking for help example was the gentleman or the person that I would always work with. I didn't want to ask them for help for one particular thing. And at this moment, I don't remember what it is, but I do remember that when I finally reached out to them and I was like, listen, I really need your help, but I didn't really want to annoy you on this. First of all, they were like, you're not annoying. It's no big deal. I know they're busy too, right? They have their own business. I know they're busy. But the solution that they gave me was so simple. So I had spent weeks stewing in my frozen, right? Paralyzed to it, not getting a solution and afraid to ask for help. And it did not take much for them to come up with the solution. So much so they even recorded a video. And I felt so silly afterwards. Silly. Because I could have figured it out. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Don't freeze. Recognize that you might be in a frozen state and then take action. Let them tell you that you're being annoying. Let them tell you that, you want to pay for my service? You want this help? You're going to pay for this help. Pay them for the help. Pay them for the help. Oh my gosh. I had a friend come in. We are building something together, and her partner works in audio. And something has been happening with the audio and I couldn't figure it out. Now, I figured out a temporary solution, but what I identified is I needed a long-term solution. So sometimes you might find yourself in a position where you're looking for short-term quick fixes, a Band-Aid, or fixes that work, right? That could be permanent. Or you might want to learn how to do more permanent fixes so you can avoid the issue altogether. What's the root cause? How do I solve this? So I don't have to deal with this going forward, but you know how you can just do quick fixes so that you can keep the product rolling. And one thing that I asked him to do was come back into the studio and teach us, give us like a quick, short course on how to do this. And my business partner was like, record it so that we can have our new employees in both of our locations also benefit from the lesson. I didn't even think about it. So two great things came out of that. I will pay and looked for what courses can I put employees through? Is there something that I can purchase that they can learn how to do certain things? And then secondly, now we can record this, or thirdly, we can record this. So anybody new coming into our industry or into our business structure can just take these courses to understand how we want to do things. I want to tell you one other thing. When you're making mistakes and you are coming up with a solution, write down that solution, because that can now become not just the fix, but like the how-to, because that can now become a part of your documentation within your business. This is how you fix this. This is how we do this. These become now standard operating procedures in your organization. And you just went through it and you've developed these because you made mistakes. So I go back to my initial statement. It is okay, and you want to make a lot of mistakes in the beginning of your business, because you will come on the other side with a ton of solutions and some standard operating procedures that you can implement and have within your business until you're ready to grow in the next stage. So I just wanted to share that with you. It's something that I have been experiencing, and I just want to start doing this more. I say this and then I get so busy. And then I get so busy and I don't get in front of the camera because I'm too busy doing all the work behind the camera. But this one, I decided to come in, and I was actually just getting ready to set up to get going with like work. And I decided, let me turn this camera on. Oh, one other thing. Bonus. Learn how to rest. I think I was telling a part of the story and I skipped over somewhere that I'm learning how to rest. I had worked so hard within the last 2 weeks, and then yesterday on Mother's Day, I thought I'd get rest, didn't get it. I said that before. And Monday's usually my day off, and I try to come in and do some work. So I initially thought that I would have gotten enough rest on the Sunday, on Mother's Day, so that on Monday I'd be cool. I only had a couple of things to do. I had to cancel the few meetings that I had, and I tried my hardest to get through some work, and I was useless to myself. And I was taking all the cat naps, multiple cat naps, and it just was not enough. I depleted myself to no, I don't even know the right saying. I just completely depleted my energy. And as I was driving in today, because I went home last night and I slept in, and I had the slowest start until I heard something on social media, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. I called my daughter and I was talking to her, and I was telling her that yesterday was such a bad day. It was such a terrible day. Not because anything happened, because nothing could happen, because I was so tired, and it did not matter how much I tried to stop, take a rest, drink water. I was having coconut water as well to like give myself some more electrolytes. I was having coffee. My body really shut down yesterday. And she was like, Mom, you work yourself into the ground, that you're not even good enough for yourself. Like, you're no use to yourself. That's how bad it was. And I didn't realize that until I started reflecting. And today I had a slow start. I passed to go see another business owner, to drop off a cake for her, because I think it's her 1 year anniversary. And I just want to give like a moment of celebration. I'm also working on something for her. So I just want to like pop in and talk to her for a bit. And then I bought some fruit. I brought a treat, a sweetie for a sweetie, and some health juices as well. And I feel so much better than I did yesterday. So now I'm ready to get to work. But I recognize that I really need to learn how to stop and get some rest. I need to learn how to give myself pockets of rest in between that are not cat naps. I need proper sleep. And then give myself time in between so I'm not overworking myself. You know, I think I know I'm a workhorse, fine. But I was accustomed to working back-to-back meetings in corporate, right? And I would be in meetings from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, and just talking. And then my team, I'd give my teamwork and things like that. But it was so normal. And I'm a high performer in the sense of like, I can do a lot, but not when you run yourself into the ground. You get to the point where you can't do anything. And I was there yesterday, and it did not feel good. And at the end of the day, when I went home and I took my shower, and I wasn't ready to go to my bed yet, even though I was exhausted, I sat on the sofa, tried to watch a little TV, and I fell asleep. When I woke up, I was like, get to that comfortable bed. When I woke up this morning, I was in so much pain. My arms hurt, my legs hurt, and it was because I was doing too much. And I had really overworked myself over the last 2 weeks. It's not healthy. So learn how to get rest so that you can take care of yourself, so you can be better for yourself in your business. And that part I really wanted to share, because I'm learning this, and that was my mistake. And now I have the solution. And I keep talking about this, like I keep doing it, but I don't think I've felt as bad as I did yesterday. Excuse me, sorry. And when I looked back at what work I got done, the amount of time that it took me to get that work done, I should have had that done within a few hours, but I couldn't, because I didn't give myself the space to be able to do the work. I was too exhausted. So make a lot of mistakes in the beginning. It's a year in for me, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I keep making mistakes, but I'm constantly learning, and so should you. So that's the message for today. I'll probably put this up as a podcast and then drop some clips. So I'll just wrap it up by saying, and that's another episode of Voices and Vibes. I just knew I wanted to talk. And yeah. So have a wonderful day. And hopefully I can do more of these recordings more frequently for you. Take care.